What if I told you that every nuclear submarine lurking beneath the ocean today owes its existence to a centuries-old battle fought with wind and wood? This is The War Historian, where we dissect the evolution of conflict, layer by layer, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. The truth is, the journey from wooden warships to nuclear submarines isn't some straight, gleaming march of progress. It's a swirling cycle. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, with fear and ambition pushing every move. Peel back the surface, and naval history turns out to be a tangled web, where every breakthrough is stitched together from worry, rivalry, and the chaos nobody saw coming. Picture the thunder of cannon fire on the deck of HMS Victory at Trafalgar. The year is 1805. Sea spray everywhere, smoke thick as wet wool. Admiral Nelson stands unflinching, knowing that Britain's future is balanced on the creaky timber beneath his boots. The wooden fleet belts across waves powered only by wind, and yet it's the most advanced war machine on Earth. But here's the problem. That moment, that mastery, breeds fear as much as glory. Because somewhere beyond the horizon, someone is scheming, trying to build something bigger, stronger, faster. One empire's invincibility is just a red flag for its rivals. So the leap from these majestic monoliths of wood to the first ironclad hull isn't just about progress, it's about desperation, about survival. Every innovation isn't a shield, it's a new target. Jump a century forward and the chessboard flips. Now the stakes are iron hulls, steam engines, torpedoes, and stealth. Britain, having conquered the seas with wood, iron, and coal, watches as America and Germany chip away at its monopoly. The seas in 1914 become a stage for hidden killers, submarines darting underwater, invisible and lethal. Human ambition propels technology, but the catch is brutal. Each new solution reveals fresh vulnerability. The unsinkable ships lure new forms of attack. Every piece you swap in this game unlocks another layer of risk. The ambitions stretch farther. Who controls the seas controls the world. Empires rise and crumble by the might of their navies. From Britain's supremacy off Cape Trafalgar to the silent patrols of an Ohio-class nuclear submarine loaded with Trident missiles in 2023, the logic is relentless. Supremacy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Yet the cost is staggering. The system rewards whoever wins the latest arms race, but leaves a wake filled with broken economies, wrecked ecosystems, and lives lost to the shuffle of power. So, who actually wins? Who really loses? The system shifts constantly. Inventors, admirals, shipwrights, entire generations get caught in the undertow. We discover that progress in naval warfare is a double-edged sword. Every technological leap offers strength at a price paid in vulnerability. Wooden ships may rust away in museums, but their ghosts linger. Every steel beam, sonar ping, and nuclear reactor carries their legacy. The arms race never ends, it just changes costumes. Imagine the Navy's evolution as a chess game. Swap your pawn for a knight. Suddenly, you command new attacks, but your opponent now sees fresh openings. Move after move, the thrill of progress comes hand in hand with risk. What chain reaction did that first leap from wood to iron set off, and why does it still echo beneath the waves? To unlock this mystery, we have to go back to the birth of the Naval Revolution, when the world first pivoted from sail to steam. Every revolution starts with a crisis, and for naval power, that crisis crashed ashore in a hail of cannon fire. Picture the Black Sea in November 1853. Battered wooden ships groan as they burn, Russian explosive shells detonating inside Turkish hulls at the Battle of Sinop. Men scramble across tilting decks, torrents of smoke choking the dawn. Wooden ribs splinter, turning proud ships to floating infernos. For centuries, nations trusted oak and pine to guard their empires, but now timber is slaughtered by iron shot and fire. The age of wooden warships ends here, not with a polite retirement, but with a warning louder than thunder. This is the moment when admirals everywhere realize the seas have changed. Necessity breeds invention, but desperation sharpens it. In 1859, the French Navy stuns the world by launching La Gloire, the first ocean-going ironclad. Picture it. Dark and glistening, unlike anything the sea has ever borne, armored with 4.5 inches of iron plates. Suddenly, every power must rethink old certainties. Cannonballs bounce off her flanks like seeds on stone. For the first time, the balance shifts, from the bravest guns to the thickest armor. But change never comes easy. Admiral Henri Dupuy de Lome, the mind behind La Gloire, is a heretic among traditionalists who call iron ships floating coffins. The old guard sniffs, clinging to centuries of wooden doctrine. But Britain, never slow to recognize a threat, responds in record time. By 1860, HMS Warrior threads the Solent, longer, fiercer, and built entirely of iron. Warrior's engines churn the water, driving a hull that can't burn, can't be blasted apart by old shells, and moves at 13 knots, unheard of speed. The British Admiralty has not just matched the French, but leapt ahead with something new, a symbol of industrial power, forged in foundries, not forests. Here's the truth. The ships grow, but so do the risks, and secrets multiply. The ironclad is nearly invulnerable to the very weapons that once ruled the seas. Cannonballs shatter. Enemy timbers collapse. Suddenly, the old art of war, close, brutal, decisively glorious, becomes a chess match in smoke and steel. Now, navies no longer know exactly what the enemy carries below the decks. Intelligence becomes as valuable as firepower. The race to innovate has ignited, and the world's militaries begin hunting for the next advantage below the surface, fueling a cycle of invention that doesn't stop at armor plates. Think of the old wooden warships as castles, monumental but static, shattered at close range. Ironclads are tanks smashing through ancient stone, immune to all but the most modern siege. The pattern is clear. Whenever a weapon gains an edge, defenses must answer. But here's what happened next. Old tactics die, and entirely new forms of attack are born. As if overnight, navies realize, to win, they need more than stronger armor. They need fresh ideas. Remember this, because we live with the consequences even now. Every modern ship, submarine, even stealth drone, is a descendant of that first desperate leap into iron and steam. If iron reshaped what was possible on the surface, what shockwave did it send through the depths? As the world grappled with metal monsters, a new player began to emerge, one that struck not above, but below the waterline. When technology crosses a threshold, the entire game changes. But who sets the new rules? In the late 1800s, world navies catch ironclad fever. By 1870, fleets that once boasted polished wood and fluttering sails now bristle with armor plates and steam engines. Suddenly, every admiral wants the thickest hull, the biggest guns, the fastest turbine. England races France, France eyes Germany, America builds, and Japan transforms overnight from isolation to iron. Expenditure explodes. Naval budgets, which could once buy a small nation, double, then triple. You need colonies and contracts and a parliament eager to borrow against tomorrow just to stay in the game. But here's the truth. Everybody is now playing catch-up, and no one admits it. You launch your crown jewel in January. By spring, your rivals have doubled their own. The arms race speeds up, and nobody slows down. In 1906, Britain unveils the HMS Dreadnought. Steel hull, all big gun broadsides, turbine engines. The sight alone is enough to make Europe's admirals reach for their erasers. Overnight, every other battleship is pointless. Billions wasted in a single launch. The old yards and fleets? Obsolete. And back home, taxpayers wonder, who decides which weapon wins, and at what price? But there's a problem. The spiral never stops at the top. As capital ships swell, smaller vessels eye the gaps. In 1866, an unassuming engineer named Robert Whitehead patents a slender, cigar-shaped invention, the self-propelled torpedo. Suddenly, David has a new kind of stone for Goliath. It isn't long before navies begin to whisper about underwater shadows. Submarines drift beneath the foam, clutching Whitehead's weapon, ready to break the rules everyone else just learned. In August of 1914, the German U-boat U-9 glides silently through misty North Sea waves. With the squeeze of a trigger, 3 British cruisers erupt and vanish within an hour. The world stops. A tiny underwater vessel cracks 3 giants like eggshells. Naval power now means more than steel and tonnage. It now means intelligence, speed, and the ability to vanish. Nations scramble to outbuild, outthink, outspend. The system feeds itself. Industrial muscle forges hulls at a blistering pace, banks churn out naval bonds, and shipyards operate night and day. Colonial powers need oceans locked down to secure trade, but every new warship is a fresh invitation. Sabotage me, torpedo me, sneak around my radar. The more you invest, the less secure you are. Security becomes a mirage, always just a step above, never within reach. Like a spiral staircase, every technological leap promises higher ground and reveals another threat already waiting at the next landing. You discover that whoever wins today's race is already behind tomorrow. A torpedo in 1866 doesn't just threaten ships, it exposes the vulnerability hiding at the center of every empire's ambition. Submarines turn the deep into a stalking ground, where trust in size and money vanishes overnight. And here's what happened next. The very tools meant to make nations safe multiply their danger. So, what happens when a single breakthrough makes every warship, every investment, every doctrine obsolete overnight? And who really pays that bill? The pattern is clear, and it hasn't stopped. Newer weapons, deeper shadows, higher costs. This arms race reached its fever pitch in the World Wars, where one moment changed the fate of navies forever. History's hinge sometimes turns with a single explosion, and the age of battleships turned to ash in minutes. Picture the dawn breaking over Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. The water erupts, steel fragments rip the sky, and 8 proud American battleships, ships named California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, list and burn in just a few hours. The world watches, frozen. The impossible has happened. Aircraft have sunk the kings of the sea. Here's the truth. Every admiral, every politician who still believed that brute strength and towering guns ruled the waves suddenly faces a new world. The battlefield shifts. The old playbook is obsolete before the smoke clears. What comes next isn't the thunderous clash of fleets, but a shadow spreading under the surface. The submarine, the silent hunter, steps onto center stage. Before Pearl Harbor, admirals draw lines on charts. Think in terms of gun ranges and armor plating. After, they look over their shoulders. Submarines move beneath the waves unseen, launching torpedoes that cripple convoys and punch holes in aircraft carriers. World War II ends, but navies everywhere realize surface fleets are vulnerable, always exposed. Power now lies with what can vanish. The shift from battleships to submarines is like changing the game from chess, where every piece is visible, to poker, where winning pieces hide in silence, bluff, and misdirection. No one knows who holds the ace. Of course, the old guard doesn't give in without a fight. Uniforms age slowly, and traditions even more so. Even as the evidence mounts, convoys lost, battleships sunk, there's resistance. Some cling to big guns and deck armor, convinced that mass and firepower always prevail. But then, 1955, the USS Nautilus changes everything. She slips out of Groton, Connecticut, the world's first nuclear-powered submarine. Nautilus can run submerged for weeks, not days. The ocean becomes a hunting ground without boundaries, and the doubters lose their footing. Nuclear propulsion is not just an engineering trick, it is a revolution. You discover that resilience and reach are no longer limited by diesel fuel or the need to surface. Submarines vanish into vastness, reach the North Pole beneath the ice, and reappear wherever they wish. Here's what happened next. A new terror, quiet and cold, enters the world. The United States and the Soviet Union race to build submarines that can launch ballistic missiles. Machines like the Soviet Typhoon class, launched in the 1980s, hulking monsters hiding beneath Arctic ice, packed with enough firepower to erase entire cities in under an hour. Submarines don't just project power, they threaten annihilation. And because they are nearly undetectable, their very existence keeps leaders awake at night. After all, you can negotiate with what you see. How do you balance against what might be out there, ready, with the turn of a key? The truth is, secrecy itself breeds paranoia at the highest levels. Submarines become the coin of global deterrence, their silence shaping every diplomatic gambit, every crisis call. Zoom out, and you find a system changed forever. The world's navies are no longer measured just by how many ships they float, but by how many enemies never see what stalks beneath. Our era is built on invisible threats and uneasy standoffs. Even now, nuclear subs prowl the world's oceans, a constant, unseen presence, a silent balance, and a perpetual risk. So how do these silent machines keep the peace, or threaten to shatter it?